Governments and football governing bodies are threatening to punish rich European clubs who have signed up to an exclusive Super League, arguing it'll damage the game. Despite the widespread anger, the renegade group remains determined to push ahead, saying it'll benefit the sport and is threatening legal action if their move is blocked. They're also confident that the quality of the competition will win the approval of fans. Paolo Montecillo has the latest.
Fury over the proposed European Super League is reaching fever pitch. Protests have made their way to the field, prompting the manager of one club to wash his hands of the matter.
I have not really anything to do with it, but people treat us like that. The lead supporters came here today. Before the game, were shouting at us. In the city, when we had a walk this afternoon, people were shouting at us. We have nothing to do with it.
The European Football Umbrella Organization is already planning a counterattack. Uefa is in talks with asset management firm Centricus for $7.2 billion in financing. It'll use that money to improve existing tournaments, including the flagship Champions League. UEFA says its goal is to preserve the European football model, where teams compete at home for a chance to face the best squads from all over the continent.
They think fans are consumers and customers, and they don't care about tradition. They don't care about anything except their wallets.
International governing body FIFA is also threatening to sanction participating clubs, including a possible ban on tournaments such as the World Cup.
They must live with the consequences of their choice. They are responsible for their choice. Concretely, this means either you are in or you are out. You cannot be half in or half out.
But the breakaway alliance isn't backing down. Florentino Perez runs the world's second richest football team, Real Madrid, which reported more than $860 million in revenue last year. He's been appointed as the first chairperson of the European Super League. Perez says the competition will give the sport a boost.
What is attractive? That we play amongst the greatest. That is more valuable in television ad revenue, so more income is generated. It's not about the rich. I don't own Real Madrid. It's a members' club. What we are doing is good for football.
6 of the league's 12 founding members are English clubs. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has already voiced his doubts, and the British government may take punitive action. Analysts say penalties could come in the form of higher taxes or restrictions on broadcast rights. An extreme option would be refusing to grant work permits for foreign players. But in the end, critics believe fans will have the final say. If they boycott the games, teams will have no choice but to return to the fold. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on this now with Kieran Maguire. He's a sports finance specialist at the University of Liverpool. Good to have you back with us, Kieran. Now, there's so much furore in the UK surrounding this proposed Super League. Everyone from the Prime Minister to the opposition to fans and former players, and even Prince William have basically come out against this, voicing their concerns, arguing that it'll essentially damage grassroots football. But the clubs behind this idea say it'll do the opposite. It'll actually benefit them because the new money that'll come into this Super League will actually flow down the so-called football pyramid. Who's right and who's wrong here?
I think the clubs who are proposing the franchise competition are first and foremost looking after themselves. Trickle-down economics has never worked in practice. And looking at the plans, the clubs involved, especially the clubs owned by American owners such as Liverpool, Arsenal and Manchester United, their first and probably only commitment is towards shareholders. The owners themselves are not familiar with football. They are familiar with US sports and the franchise systems that operate there, which are very lucrative. The money is going to be concentrated in the hands of 12 to 15 clubs. It will not pass down to the smaller clubs to the extent they're claiming. And the numbers which are being broadcast by the foremost members of this franchise organisation are being spread over 23 years. So in practice, they're far lower than what's actually being claimed.
We know UEFA had hoped that plans for a new 36-team Champions League would head off the formation of a breakaway league such as what's being proposed now. In fact, we understand UEFA was set to announce the latest on those talks in the coming days. But we also know there have been disputes between UEFA and these top clubs as to how to basically divvy up the $3.3 billion in TV revenue that the Champions League brings in. And we know there was a breakdown of these negotiations and these talks. Is this idea of a Super League the result of that relationship breakdown between UEFA and these clubs?
Yes, these clubs who already get significant benefits from being in the Champions League, because the way that the money is allocated between individual clubs has been reformatted and recalculated to the benefit of the clubs who have a 10-year history in UEFA. These clubs now want more in the sense of being able to sell their own TV rights direct to the consumer. If we take a club such as Manchester United would normally expect to get around about $270, $280 million a year from broadcast rights, but it also claims to have 1.1 billion fans. So if you think about it, if Manchester United could get 10% of its fan base to stump up $2 for a match, that's $220 million from a single game of football flowing into the club. So that's why they're so keen to change the rules to benefit their top and bottom lines.
Now, the common criticism against this idea is that these clubs have been motivated by money, by greed, as described by some people. But it's not hard to see why, because the majority of the clubs behind this idea posted steep losses in the 2019-2020 season. So with the prospect of up to $400 million just for signing up, it does look like a lucrative option. And just comparing what, say, the team that won the Champions League in 2020, Bayern Munich, they received around $100 million. Should these top clubs be punished for simply trying to look for another revenue stream?
I think if the clubs want to go and play in their own league, they should be allowed to do so. But as Gianni Infantino said, that they can't have both their own competition and also decide that they want to play in a competitive league, which is based on sporting merit and the ideas of promotion and relegation. So if it is their choice to set up this product and market it and to reap the rewards, I think they should be allowed to do so. But as a football fan, nobody wants them in the English Premier League, and even their own fans are disgusted with them as a result of this behaviour. It takes away the essence of what sport in Europe and around the world has been built on, which is the idea of the best clubs achieve success by being good on the pitch, as opposed to being invited into a members-only cartel.
Given the backlash, particularly in the UK, from pretty much every stakeholder in football, given the fact that UEFA and FIFA could actually bar players from participating in other competitions and even the World Cup if this idea does go ahead, do you expect the Super League to come to fruition?
I think we've not reached the end of the road yet. I think the coordination of the response has perhaps taken the people behind the franchise league aback a bit, but they knew that there would be a negative reaction. You don't become a billionaire by being worried about what the small fans and the small people think. So I think they'll be quite happy to look at the numbers. They'll have done their spreadsheets, they'll have done their financial forecasts. And if they believe that Manchester United's share price is better off by forming a separate league, then that will be the driving force rather than the reaction of or opinions of any of the fans.
Okay, let's see what happens in this unfolding saga. Kieran Maguire, always a pleasure. Thank you for that.